we're jumping the gun. We're jumping into things that we cannot really afford at the moment.
I'm just putting for our discussion,
right?
So that we understand
Of
from
course.
why we are going to 4.8 trillion, not because of how to over ambitious. You know, sometimes you can make what you call an over ambitious budget,
right?
Just because you think you want to force things to happen for your accolade.
Right.
This one doesn't require even accolade. In fact, in any case, discussion around National Infrastructure Fund, Sovereign Wealth Bill will be pulling out pressure from the main budget now, so that we have ring-fenced resources for development. So future where we are going, we'll not be even expecting development on the main budget. So we'll be having a budget, a consolidated fund, what you call a consolidated account, all collections, focusing on recurrent and paying of debts.
Which is important for fiscal consolidation. Let's focus on this renovating aspect that you're talking about. The opposition has come up with an alternative budget of around 4.3 trillion shillings, which they say is more efficient for the country at the moment. And they have talked about pain points, including some of the things that you have talked about, travel and such. As the head of state is one of the people who travel the most, do you believe that there are some ways as a CPA that we can cut some of these superfluous spendings and ensure that we live within our means?
But by now, if it's not a question of making a political statement for the purpose of today and just give a diversion on what is happening, I would have expected, and I know consolidation of the so-called opposition, people who are experienced, like Alonso Mushoka, who has been the vice president of this republic, like Matiang'i, who has been the chief cabinet secretary, to me understands all sectors. I would have expected them to give us stipulation and say, this is for body, and this is what we are saying. Under education, remove this, do this. Under security, this is what is over expenditure, remove this, do this. Under this sector, if we would have those critical, it will help us have a clear discussion whether those in power now are oversighting some things, assuming some things, or are over ambitious. Otherwise, we are just making political statement against the realities. I'm saying, can we for once become a realistic people, a realistic regime, a realistic generation? I agree. Some of the problems we are struggling with, like payment of debt, we should not be there, because some of the debts we don't know where they went. Some questions have to be done, and we need clear audit report. These 11 trillion debts that were there when this regime came in, it has grown to 12 trillion. Now we are around 12.5. Where, if we apportion them, because most of the debts are meant for development. Not that Kenya is exceptional of borrowing. Even developed countries are borrowing, but they are borrowing for development. How's our borrowing, like our domestic borrowing now, is for recurrent. We are borrowing to repay, because there is a debt following due on Thursday. You don't have money, sell treasury bills, sell infrastructure bonds, raise money, relieve that debt by using another debt. Are you getting me? Right. Because even if we raise taxes, even the ability of realizing those taxes at the go is not possible. It has to take time. It is timely. Business taxes come once in a month. Its own salary taxes comes once in a month. I mean, you cannot say you defer some of the fixed cost. You cannot defer. It has to run. So what I'm saying is this: if we become realistic on what we are saying, there are some things that we must call ourselves into order. And one of it is, yes, we must borrow to sustain. But for how long are we going to borrow for recurrent? This is where we are missing out the point. This is where we are hurting. Because if you reduce the CFS, you will have enough money to reduce even our budget. And we arrive at a balanced budget. Yes, we've been dreaming that we will have a zero-based budget. We will have a balanced budget where we are going to raise enough revenue for the sake of this. When are we going to do this? If we are not focusing on triggering sectors that can generate, like manufacturing. Because at the moment, manufacturing sector is still at a slow pace. We are now talking about KIBs, where we expect counties to build up on industrial parks and encourage small-scale manufacturing coming up. EBZs, AEZs, this one, we are going to trigger all this and increase our GDP. We are constrained on that, but we only relying on few sectors, agriculture, which is purely subsistence.
Right. So you do admit that we borrow more than we should be borrowing.
I admit that we borrow, and the unfortunate part is that we are borrowing for recurrent. That is where we have a problem.
But then the president and the Kenya Kwanza government had said that they have a silver bullet for this problem 3 years ago. What happened? Where did we lose
That's what I'm saying. You see, one thing that we get here, like 2024 finance bill, was it necessary for us to demonstrate? Because we took politics out of a good plan. Because there is no shortcut. whether we borrow now, we have to pay through taxes. It is taxes. Either you defer tax, you pay today, or you divide to pay tomorrow through borrowing. This is what has been happening for years since Kibaki time, because it's like Kibaki who came and opened up our budget from 300 billion of Moi to 300, 500 billion from Moi up to 1 point something trillion. Uhuru shook it to around 3 point something. Now it is going to 4.8 because of what is being pushed. It's a push budget. Now put aside that one. In 2024, where some measures were meant to even inspire manufacturing on consumption, basic consumption like sanitary towels. You remember what they said?
Right.
This government doesn't want us to go through on our biological process. What the government was trying to say, if we have an opportunity to manufacture these things in Kenya and retain employment here, why should we rely on importing cheap things, what they are consumables, and we can create an opportunity? Because unless we reason around that area, but whenever measures are put in place, we take politics out of it.
Right, Mheshimiwa,
So listen first. No, you asked a question
right.
on why this government has not done anything. They have tried, but when they are trying, and we put the politics that we've subjected everything, we are in constant campaign throughout the year. Immediately you lose, you start eating on who is there. You don't even give an opportunity to deliver. And what are we doing? Of course, I don't mean that we don't need to critique a regime. A regime has to be subjected to accountability. That's the requirement of the Constitution, but objectively. But how we look at demonstration we took around here. We killed the businesses, even those who have yielded more tax and reduced on borrowing. Because in the presence of more growth of tax realized, then borrowing should come down. And the worst borrowing is, as I've said, for recurrent. Yes. But under a scenario where we are discrediting, we don't support, we are killing, we've even now perpetrated the attitude. Right now people tell you, why should I pay tax? And I was in public participation. I've been going through public participation. And members of the public are telling me, Mheshimiwa, this is a good plan. But because we don't trust those people in the regime, we are not going to buy this one. Not because of anything. It's a good plan, they have understood. But because of, so look at that politics.
Right. Can we just focus on home economics for a minute? Kenyans are saying that they don't have the money to get